Oh, there's plenty. That is for sure. We got plenty to talk about, especially with what's going on Saturday on Big Noon Kickoff on Fox between the Penn State Nittany Lions and the Ohio State. Is this the Saturday where James Franklin can get off the schneid against Ohio State and Michigan, or is it just same old James Franklin?
It's tough because of the fact that Penn State is built to win and they are built to possibly win big games. But this is a mega big game because you're talking about going on the road to play in Columbus at Ohio State, which is going to be extremely difficult because obviously there's always tons of fans. And I think that Penn State has a good team. But Drew Aller has been a guy that struggled on the road. The Illinois game and the Northwestern games, he didn't play necessarily that well on the road. And the running backs for Penn State were supposed to be a strength. Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, those two guys have not really gotten too many yards on the ground this season versus what people were expecting. But part of that's been the O-line for Penn State, which hasn't been great, hasn't been awful, but needs to improve. Penn State's defense is really good. And that's what's going to win them the game. If their defense, if they do win, their defense has to play at an elite level. They have talent at all three levels, but still, it's going to be extremely tough. And no one trusts James Franklin. Yes, they beat Utah in the Rose Bowl last year, which was a big win, even though Cam Rising got hurt in the game. But outside of a few wins like that, James Franklin has not had many big wins. Can he win this game? Can Penn State get it done? I believe so. But me personally, I did pick Ohio State to win a close one versus Penn State. I don't think they'll get it done, but it is very well possible that they could.
Well, another question I was thinking about with James Franklin is, do you think there's similarities between the 2023 Penn State team and the 2021 Michigan team?
I mean, definitely there are similarities for sure. That's a great question because, I mean, obviously, Michigan was able to finally beat Ohio State and they were, got that big win. And maybe Penn State can do it. They have the talent. It's not really ever that Penn State hasn't had enough talent because they're never as talented as Ohio State. Neither is Michigan, but it's about being built the right way to win. And I don't know if Penn State necessarily is built perfectly to win, but they are capable enough to do it. The defense helps because how they're going to be able to beat the Buckeyes again is if their defense can slow down Kyle McCord, shut down the run game, and make McCord make mistakes. And that's what Michigan did in 2021, 2022. They were good enough on offense, and then their defense slowed down the Buckeyes, which a lot of teams struggle to do, especially in the Big Ten. That's why Ohio State has won against every single opponent in the Big Ten except Michigan the last 2 years after they lost to Purdue. No other team's beaten them since that Purdue loss besides Michigan. And I think that there are similarities with Penn State from, the 2021 Michigan team to now with the way that Penn State is playing, but it's still going to be extremely difficult.
Yeah, I mean, nobody said that, it's going to be easy, but nobody said that it can't be done either. But, I mean, because, when people were complaining about Franklin, they tend to forget some of the accomplishments they had at Vanderbilt, and they
Mm-hmm.
forgot what he did in 2016 in his third season. It was like, how do you forget something like that? And it was like the same thing with Jim Harbaugh, where everyone in 2021 was ragging on him because of his winless record against Ohio State. They forgot the great, magnificent things he did at Stanford, especially against Pete Carroll and USC, and what
Mm-hmm.
he did at the Niners. That was amazing in of itself.
Yeah, those are all great points. And I think that it's just because when you're at such a big program like that, fans want to win and they want you to beat the teams that are beating you. Because if you can beat those teams and you become the best, you become the top of the conference and the top of college football. And Penn State's been oh so close several times in several seasons of being the best team in the league. But when they don't beat Ohio State or Michigan, it's just the same thing with Michigan not being able to beat Ohio State. Fans are going to get upset, and they do overlook what that coach has done before. Because, like you said, James Franklin did a really good job at Vanderbilt. It's very hard to win at Vanderbilt, as we can see right now. Vanderbilt's not winning games, and Back when James Franklin was there, they were making bowl games on a regularity, and that was impressive. And he did beat Ohio State back in 2016 at Penn State as the coach. And they've beaten a lot of other big teams. Like I said, they beat Utah last year. I mean, they did everything right last season. Had a great year, 11-2, won the Rose Bowl, but they didn't beat Ohio State and they didn't beat Michigan. So it's not good enough to some fans. I never have thought in my mind that James Franklin wasn't a good coach. I think he's a really good coach. I think Jim Harbaugh was as well before he, beat Ohio State. But sometimes you got to win that big game for everybody to believe in you. If he can win on Saturday at Columbus, definitely more people are going to be believers in James Franklin. I already think he's a really good coach. You do as well. But for everybody to get on board, he's got to win the big one.
Yeah, because I remember going on record on one of the Big Ten shows saying that Franklin's in the same boat as Harbaugh from the 2021 season. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
forgot about his accomplishments. And, they're not thinking about some of the great things he's going to be doing at Penn State.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it's crazy that people forget, but that's just the way that people are wired, though, is to remember what they've last seen. And once you start, winning those big games, people are going to believe in you. But if you don't do those things, then no one's going to remember what you did before. And you could have a great tenure and a lot of success. But if it stops happening, which we're going to touch on a coach like that coming up soon, but everyone's going to be saying that this guy needs to either retire or they need to move on from this guy, even if he had tons of success for decades. So that's what people are wired to do. They remember what they last see. So again, if Franklin can get it done, people's minds will change quickly on him.